Your value is intrinsic, woven into the very fabric of who you are, not something that depends on how others respond to you or perceive you. When you find yourself in a situation where you're the one constantly reaching out, waiting for a reply, or hoping for a connection to deepen, it's easy to start questioning your worth. The unanswered messages, the delayed responses, or even the lack of enthusiasm from the other side can begin to chip away at your sense of self. But the truth is, none of these things define your value. What defines your worth is your essence, your character, your potential, and the light you bring into the world. When you refrain from texting him anymore, it's not about playing games or trying to manipulate the outcome. It's about respecting your own time, energy, and emotional well-being. It's about understanding that if someone truly values you, they will make an effort to meet you halfway. Communication, after all, is a two-way street. And when one person is doing all the work, the balance is lost. Respecting your value means recognizing when you're giving too much of yourself to someone who isn't reciprocating. It's about choosing to step back, not out of spite or bitterness, but from a place of self-awareness and self-respect. Because there's a powerful shift that happens when you decide to stop chasing someone's attention. Instead of pouring your energy into someone who may not appreciate it, you begin to pour that energy back into yourself. You start to see yourself through a new lens, one that is not clouded by the need for external validation. You realize that your worth is not contingent upon a response, a call, or a message. The minute you are valuable simply because you exist, because of the unique qualities you bring to every interaction, and because of the potential that resides within you. Taking a step back also sends a subtle yet powerful message, not just to the other person, but to yourself. It tells the world that you are not someone who settles for less than you deserve. It tells yourself that you are capable of setting boundaries and standing firm in them. Boundaries are not walls. They are the guidelines that define how you expect to be treated. By choosing not to text anymore, you are setting a boundary that says, I respect myself enough to let this unfold naturally. I won't force connections or chase after someone who isn't equally invested. Respecting your value also involves breaking free from the trap of overthinking. How many times have you stared at your phone, analyzing every word of a conversation, replaying every interaction in your mind, and questioning what you could have done differently? This kind of mental loop is exhausting and, more importantly, unnecessary. When you choose to stop texting him, you free yourself from this cycle. Healing is endless. When this is, you give yourself permission to let go of the constant need to decode someone else's actions or intentions. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you prioritize your peace of mind over the need for clarity or closure that may never come. It's worth considering why we sometimes feel the urge to text someone repeatedly, even when the signs suggest it's not reciprocated. Often it's rooted in a fear of being forgotten, a fear of missing out, or a deep desire for connection. But here's the thing. The right people, the ones who truly value you, won't need constant reminders of your presence. They will see your worth without you having to prove it over and over again. And by stepping back, you create space for these kinds of connections to flourish. You allow yourself to be surrounded by people who uplift you, appreciate you, and meet you at your level of energy and effort. Choosing not to text him anymore is not a sign of giving up. It's a declaration of self-respect. It's a way of reclaiming your time and emotional energy for things and people who truly matter. It's a decision that empowers you to focus on yourself, your growth, and your happiness. When you respect your own value, you set a standard for how others should treat you. You teach people that your time and attention are precious and not something to be taken for granted. There's an undeniable strength in stepping back, in letting things unfold as they are meant to, without trying to control or force the outcome. It takes courage to stop texting, especially when your heart longs for a connection. But this courage is what transforms you. It's what helps you see that you are enough just as you are. You don't need to chase after anyone to prove your worth, because your worth is already established. Your worth is already established, except for it's not something that diminishes in someone's absence. It's something that shines brighter as you learn to embrace and nurture it. Absence has a way of speaking louder than words ever could. When you step back and remove yourself from a situation, it creates a void, a space that was once filled by your presence. This space forces both you and the other person to take a step back and reflect. Often we underestimate the power of our absence, thinking that constant presence or communication is the only way to maintain a connection. However, it is in absence that clarity emerges, and the true nature of a relationship or connection reveals itself. When you choose to pull back, you are no longer a constant, predictable force. You are no longer someone who is always available, always reaching out, or always waiting for a reply. This shift creates a ripple effect. For the other person, your absence is not just noticed, it is felt. The texts you used to send, the calls you used to make, the energy you used to invest, all of that creates a noticeable void. Human nature often compels us to take things for granted when they are readily available, but absence has a way of reminding us of what we had and how valuable it was. The power of absence lies in its ability to disrupt patterns. When you step away, it disrupts the cycle of familiarity and forces the other person to confront what your presence truly meant to them. They begin to realize the effort, care, and attention you poured into the connection, things they may not have fully appreciated when you were always there. Absence is a mirror reflecting the reality of the situation. If the connection was genuine, absence will only strengthen it, as the other person realizes your importance and seeks to bridge the gap. If it wasn't, absence reveals that as well, allowing you to move forward without the weight of false hopes or one-sided efforts. For yourself, stepping back creates an opportunity for introspection. It's not just about giving the other person space, it's about giving yourself space as well. When you're constantly engaged in trying to maintain a connection, it's easy to lose sight of your own feelings, needs, and priorities. Absence allows you to reconnect with yourself, to evaluate what you truly want and deserve. It's in this quiet space that you can rediscover your own voice and regain a sense of balance. Absence also helps you break free from the emotional entanglement that often comes with constant communication. When you're always reaching out, there's a tendency to tie your emotions to the other person's responses or lack thereof. You might find yourself on an emotional roller coaster, feeling elated when they reply and deflated when they don't. By stepping back, you reclaim control over your emotions. You stop relying on someone else's actions to dictate how you feel, and you begin to focus on your own emotional well-being. The distance created by absence doesn't just offer perspective, it also shifts the dynamic of the relationship. When you are no longer the one always initiating contact, it places the ball in the other person's court. It gives them the opportunity to step up, to reach out, and to show their interest. If they value the connection, they will make the effort. If they don't, their silence speaks volumes. Either way, you gain clarity. You stop wasting your energy on guessing or overanalyzing, and instead you let actions or the lack thereof speak for themselves. Relationships, absence often amplifies what presence cannot. When you're always present, it's easy for your efforts to become background noise, something that blends into the routine of daily life. But when you're absent, it creates a stark contrast. The silence left behind is not empty. It's filled with the weight of your presence, the echo of your efforts, and the undeniable reality of your value. This is not about manipulation or creating drama. It's about allowing space for reflection and growth. Absence has a way of making people confront their feelings in a way that presence cannot. When you're constantly there, the other person might never have the chance to fully process their thoughts or emotions about the connection. But when you step back, it forces them to evaluate what you mean to them. It compels them to consider what life feels like without your presence, and whether they are willing to make the effort to bring you back into their lives. So, on a deeper level, absence is a powerful act of self-empowerment. It's a way of saying, I trust myself enough to let go. It's about releasing the need for control, the need to constantly monitor or manage the connection. When you step back, you are essentially placing your trust in the natural flow of things. You are acknowledging that what is meant for you will not pass you by, and what isn't meant for you will fall away. This act of letting go is liberating. It frees you from the mental and emotional burden of trying to make something work that may not be working. Absence also creates an opportunity for the other person to take responsibility. When you're always the one reaching out, you unintentionally take on the entire burden of maintaining the connection. But when you step back, it gives the other person the chance to take initiative. It shifts the responsibility and creates a more balanced dynamic. You are no longer the sole driver of the connection. Instead, you become an equal participant. This shift can either strengthen the bond or reveal its weaknesses, but either way, it provides valuable insights into the nature of the relationship. When you decide to stop texting and instead shift your focus inward, you unlock a world of opportunities for self-discovery, growth, and transformation. Often, the energy we expend trying to maintain connections with others comes at the expense of nurturing our relationship with ourselves. By redirecting that energy toward your personal development, you can create a life that is fulfilling, empowering, and deeply aligned with your true potential. Focusing on yourself is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of self-care. It means acknowledging your own needs, desires, and aspirations, and making them a priority. When you spend so much time and effort reaching out to someone who may not reciprocate your energy, you risk neglecting the things that matter most to you. Your goals, dreams, and well-being can easily take a back seat as you become consumed with the dynamics of a one-sided connection. By stepping back and choosing not to text, you create the space needed to reconnect with these aspects of your life. One of the first things that happens when you focus on yourself is a shift in perspective. Instead of fixating on what the other person is doing or thinking, you begin to turn inward. You start asking yourself important questions. What do I want out of life? What makes me happy? What areas of my life need attention and growth? These questions are not always easy to answer, but they are essential for building a strong foundation of self-awareness. And this is what makes me proud. The more you invest in understanding yourself, the more confident and grounded you become. Redirecting your focus also allows you to explore new interests and hobbies. Often we become so caught up in the routines and patterns of our interactions with others that we forget to nurture our passions. When you stop texting him, you free up mental and emotional bandwidth to dive into activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. Whether it's pursuing a creative endeavor, learning a new skill, or dedicating time to physical and mental wellness, these pursuits not only enrich your life, but also remind you of your own independence and resilience. Another powerful aspect of focusing on yourself is the opportunity to build your emotional strength. Emotional resilience doesn't come from clinging to others for validation. It comes from within. When you choose to stop texting and instead invest in your own growth, you develop the ability to regulate your emotions, cope with challenges, and maintain a sense of balance regardless of external circumstances. This inner strength becomes a source of empowerment, allowing you to navigate relationships and life with greater confidence and grace. Focusing on yourself also enhances your ability to set and uphold boundaries. Boundaries are a reflection of self-respect. They define how you expect to be treated and what you are willing to accept in your relationships. When you take a step back from texting him, you are practicing a boundary by prioritizing your own needs over the desire for immediate gratification. This act of self-respect not only protects your emotional well-being, but also sets a standard for how others should treat you. The time and energy you save by not texting can be redirected towards self-care. Self-care is not just about pampering yourself. It's about taking deliberate actions to support your physical, mental, and emotional health. This might include establishing a morning routine that sets a positive tone for your day, practicing mindfulness or meditation to center yourself, or engaging in physical activity to boost your mood and energy. By prioritizing self-care, you create a foundation of well-being that allows you to show up as your best self in all areas of your life. Focusing on yourself also opens the door to personal growth. Every moment you spend worrying about someone else's actions or feelings is a moment that could be spent learning, evolving, and becoming the person you aspire to be. This might involve setting new goals, pursuing educational opportunities, or working on areas of personal development that you've been neglecting. The journey of self-improvement is not always easy, but it is deeply rewarding. Each step you take toward becoming the best version of yourself reinforces your sense of self-worth and capability. When you focus on yourself, you also cultivate a sense of independence. Independence doesn't mean isolating yourself from others. It means recognizing that your happiness and fulfillment are not dependent on anyone else. By stepping back from texting and investing in your own growth, you remind yourself that you are capable of creating a life that is rich and meaningful, with or without the validation of another person. This sense of independence is incredibly liberating. It allows you to approach relationships from a place of strength rather than neediness. The decision to focus on yourself also has a ripple effect on your relationships. When you are deeply connected to your own needs and values, you attract people who resonate with your energy. Your confidence, self-respect, and sense of purpose become magnetic, drawing in connections that are genuine and aligned with who you are. By prioritizing yourself, you create a standard for the types of relationships you want to cultivate. Ones that are built on mutual respect, support, and authenticity. The success and the victories. Ultimately, focusing on yourself is an act of empowerment. It's a decision to take control of your narrative, to stop seeking validation from others, and to embrace the incredible potential within you. It's about recognizing that your time, energy, and attention are valuable resources that deserve to be invested wisely. When you stop texting him and start focusing on yourself, you reclaim these resources and use them to build a life that reflects your worth, passion, and purpose. When you stop texting and choose to focus on yourself, you begin to realize the importance of self-worth and how it serves as the foundation for everything you experience in life. The way you perceive yourself influences how you interact with others, what you accept in relationships, and how you navigate the challenges that come your way. This shift in focus allows you to reassess your value, placing it in the hands of your own self-belief, rather than relying on external validation. Too often, we measure our self-worth by the attention or approval we receive from others. When someone stops texting or pulling away, it can feel like a direct reflection of our value. We may find ourselves questioning why we weren't enough or why they stopped making an effort. However, the true measure of your worth should never come from someone else's actions, opinions, or interest. Your worth is intrinsic. It exists within you, regardless of external circumstances. By taking a step back and choosing to stop texting, you begin the process of internalizing this truth. You start to understand that your value is not determined by whether someone is interested in you at any given moment, but by the person you are and the choices you make. This recognition of your intrinsic worth transforms the way you approach relationships. Instead of seeking out relationships to validate your worth, you begin to cultivate them based on mutual respect, understanding, and shared values. When you know your own value, you no longer settle for relationships that do not reflect that same respect. Instead of pouring your energy into someone who may not appreciate or reciprocate your efforts, you channel that energy into areas of your life that affirm and strengthen your sense of self. This can be anything from investing in your career, working on personal goals, or strengthening the relationships that already nourish and uplift you. As you focus on your self-worth, you become less reliant on others for emotional fulfillment. While human connection is important, your emotional well-being shouldn't be tethered to someone else's actions or feelings. When you stop texting and let go of the constant need for interaction, you start to build an inner sense of emotional independence. This independence doesn't mean that you isolate yourself from others. Rather, it means that you become emotionally self-sufficient. You are capable of maintaining a sense of peace and stability regardless of how others may behave or react. You no longer feel the need to chase after validation because you've already found it within yourself. This internal confidence also influences how you approach future interactions and relationships. When you know your worth, you become less likely to tolerate behavior that doesn't align with your standards. You understand that you deserve respect, kindness, and effort from those you choose to engage with. When you stop texting him, it is not an act of rejection. It is an affirmation of your boundaries, your desires, and your self-respect. You are signaling to yourself and to others that you will not chase after what is not meant for you or settle for anything less than what you truly deserve. Recognizing your self-worth also empowers you to break free from patterns of self-doubt and insecurity. Many of us struggle with feelings of inadequacy, especially when faced with rejection or silence. We may internalize these moments and start questioning our own value. By taking a step back and choosing not to engage, you remove yourself from the cycle of overthinking and emotional distress. You give yourself the space to heal and reaffirm your worth. The absence of communication forces you to stop seeking reassurance from outside sources and instead look inward to cultivate a sense of confidence that is unwavering. As you deepen your understanding of self-worth, you begin to adopt a healthier relationship with your emotions. You learn to detach your emotional well-being from external events and relationships. If someone is not texting you back or showing interest, it no longer sends you into a spiral of self-questioning. You no longer attach your sense of value to their actions. Instead, you recognize that their behavior is a reflection of them, not a reflection of who you are. This shift in perspective allows you to move forward with grace and resilience, unaffected by external circumstances. If any conflict or ultimately, the journey of recognizing and embracing your self-worth is one of empowerment. Your worth is inherent and it is yours to own. This realization not only transforms your relationships with others, but more importantly, it transforms the relationship you have with yourself. You begin to treat yourself with the love, respect, and appreciation that you deserve. And from this place of inner strength, you attract the relationships and experiences that reflect that same value. When you decide to stop texting and redirect your energy inward, one of the most profound changes you experience is the ability to cultivate a life of purpose. A life of purpose is not defined by fleeting distractions or the constant pursuit of external validation, but by the conscious effort to align your actions with your deepest values, aspirations, and goals. This shift in focus allows you to tap into your unique potential and start living with intention, creating a life that is meaningful, fulfilling, and aligned with your true self. Too often, we find ourselves caught up in the whirlwind of day-to-day distractions, texting, social media, superficial interactions that pull us away from the things that truly matter. We spend time on conversations and connections that do not contribute to our personal growth or well-being, and as a result, we lose sight of our long-term vision and purpose. By choosing to stop texting and giving yourself the space to focus on your own path, you begin to reclaim your time and energy. You no longer waste your precious moments on things that don't serve your higher purpose. Living with purpose means waking up every day with a sense of direction and intention. When you redirect your energy inward, you start to question, what do I want to accomplish? What legacy do I want to create? What do I value most in life? These questions are essential for building a life of purpose, as they force you to reflect on the deeper meaning behind your actions. Instead of getting lost in the pursuit of momentary pleasures or distractions, you start living with a clear sense of focus and intention. Your actions become deliberate, and you begin to make choices that are aligned with the vision you have for your life. Purpose is often rooted in personal values, those guiding principles that shape how we approach the world and the decisions we make. When you stop texting and take a break from engaging in relationships that do not support your goals, you allow yourself the freedom to reconnect with your values. Are you someone who values growth, health, creativity, or service to others? By stepping away from distractions and focusing on your purpose, you gain clarity about what truly matters to you and can start aligning your life accordingly. This alignment is crucial for living authentically, as it allows you to be true to yourself and pursue goals that resonate with who you are at your core. All good. When you begin to focus on your purpose, you also start to recognize the power of consistency and discipline. Living a purposeful life requires a commitment to your goals, and this often means sacrificing short-term pleasures for long-term gains. The decision to stop texting is a simple but powerful act of discipline. It's a conscious choice to invest your time and energy in something more meaningful. Whether you're working on a career goal, building a new skill, or creating a healthier lifestyle, living with purpose requires discipline. The more consistently you choose to focus on your vision, the more progress you make in bringing it to life. In this process of self-discovery, you also develop a deeper understanding of what brings you joy and fulfillment. When you're constantly distracted by external factors, it's easy to lose touch with your true passions. However, when you choose to focus inward, you begin to explore the things that bring you a sense of satisfaction, contentment, and excitement. Perhaps it's creating art, writing, traveling, or working with others in a meaningful way. By prioritizing your own purpose, you create space to explore these passions without the distraction of external forces. This rediscovery of your joy fuels your motivation and drives you to continue pursuing the life that aligns with your core desires. Living with purpose also allows you to develop a sense of emotional resilience. When you are clear on your goals and values, you are better equipped to handle setbacks and challenges that come your way. Life is full of obstacles, and when you are distracted by external factors, it's easy to get derailed by them. However, when you have a strong sense of purpose, you can stay focused even in the face of adversity. Your purpose acts as a compass, guiding you through difficult times and helping you stay grounded in what truly matters. This emotional resilience is key to long-term success, as it allows you to persist even when things get tough. Another aspect of living with purpose is the ability to make intentional decisions. When you stop texting and start focusing on your own path, you begin to take responsibility for the choices you make. Instead of allowing external circumstances or other people's opinions to dictate your actions, you start making decisions that reflect your own values and goals. Whether it's choosing where to invest your time, how to set boundaries in relationships, or what steps to take to achieve your dreams, living with purpose empowers you to take control of your life and make decisions that align with your vision. Purpose also provides a sense of direction and clarity. When you are not distracted by unnecessary interactions or conversations, you gain the mental space needed to think clearly about your future. The noise of the world quiets down, allowing you to tune into your inner voice and connect with your true desires. This clarity helps you stay focused on your goals and avoid getting sidetracked by things that do not contribute to your purpose. The more aligned you are with your purpose, the more confident you become in your decisions and actions. Living with purpose also inspires others. When you are fully engaged in your own growth and personal development, you become a source of inspiration for those around you. People are drawn to individuals who are passionate, focused, and living authentically. By choosing to stop texting and invest in your own journey, you not only improve your own life, but also set an example for others to follow. Your dedication to living with purpose encourages others to pursue their own dreams and aspirations, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond you. In summary, by choosing to focus on yourself and stop texting, you create the space needed to live a life of purpose. This purposeful living empowers you to align your actions with your core values and goals, invest in your passions, and make decisions that lead to long-term fulfillment. Instead of being distracted by external factors, you begin to live with intention, clarity, and emotional resilience. This shift in focus not only enhances your own life, but also inspires those around you to live more authentically and purposefully as well. When you stop texting him, you begin to reclaim your power by embracing the concept of emotional independence. Emotional independence is the ability to regulate and manage your emotions without relying on others for validation or approval. It is a vital skill that empowers you to live life on your own terms, regardless of external circumstances or how other people behave. So, by choosing to stop texting, you free yourself from the emotional dependency that can often develop in relationships, allowing you to cultivate a more balanced and healthy emotional state. This shift does not mean that you close yourself off from others or become emotionally detached. Rather, it means that you take control of your own emotional well-being and stop allowing others to dictate how you feel. The foundation of emotional independence begins with the recognition that your happiness and emotional state should not be tied to someone else's actions. When you are emotionally dependent on someone, their behavior has the power to determine how you feel. If they don't text you back, you may feel anxious, rejected, or uncertain. Think about, however, when you cultivate emotional independence, you begin to realize that your feelings are your own and can be managed by how you choose to respond to situations. It's about reclaiming your inner peace, no longer allowing the actions or inactions of others to disturb your emotional equilibrium. One of the core principles of emotional independence is self-awareness. In order to be emotionally independent, you must first understand your emotions, triggers, and reactions. Stopping texting is an act of self-awareness because it forces you to step back from the constant need for validation and reflection on your own emotions. Instead of seeking reassurance through texting or waiting for responses, you start to observe your own emotional patterns. What triggers your need to reach out? Why do you feel the urge to text when things seem uncertain? Understanding these patterns allows you to take ownership of your emotions and begin to manage them more effectively. Emotional independence also involves developing self-compassion. When you stop texting, you may initially feel a sense of emptiness or anxiety. These feelings are natural, but they provide an opportunity for you to practice kindness toward yourself. Instead of berating yourself for feeling vulnerable or upset, you allow yourself the space to feel without judgment. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same care, understanding, and support that you would offer a close friend in similar circumstances. By showing yourself compassion, you create a foundation of emotional security that is not reliant on anyone else's actions. Furthermore, emotional independence is closely tied to the concept of self-validation. When you stop texting and take a break from seeking external validation, you learn to validate yourself. In relationships, it's easy to fall into the trap of seeking approval or affirmation from others. We may text to get a response that reassures us of our worth or desirability. However, this external validation is fleeting and often unreliable. In the emergency situation, it is the very last thing in the world we feel like receiving or asking for. By choosing to stop texting, you take the opportunity to build your self-worth from within. You start to realize that your value does not depend on someone else's response, but on your own belief in yourself. This self-declaration is empowering because it puts the control of your emotional state back in your hands. As you develop emotional independence, you also become more capable of setting healthy boundaries. When you rely on others for emotional validation, it can be difficult to establish clear boundaries because you may fear rejection or conflict. However, by stopping texting and focusing on your own emotional needs, you learn how to assert your boundaries with confidence. The moment you know you can trust someone, the moment you know you recognize that your emotional well-being is too important to compromise for the sake of someone else's comfort or convenience. Healthy boundaries protect your emotional space and allow you to engage in relationships in a way that is respectful to both yourself and others. Another aspect of emotional independence is the ability to manage expectations. Often we get attached to certain outcomes in relationships, such as expecting frequent communication or a specific response to our messages. These expectations can create emotional dependence, as our happiness becomes tied to the fulfillment of these desires. When you stop texting, you free yourself from these expectations. You learn to detach from the outcome and focus on what you can control: your own actions, thoughts, and feelings. This detachment does not mean that you stop caring or stop wanting connection, but it allows you to approach relationships with a healthier mindset, where you are not emotionally tied to the approval or response of others. In addition, emotional independence helps to strengthen your sense of self and increases your resilience. When you are not relying on someone else to boost your self-esteem or provide emotional support, you develop a deeper understanding of who you are. You become more confident in your identity and less influenced by external factors. This inner strength gives you the resilience to face challenges and navigate difficult emotions with grace and composure. Rather than feeling overwhelmed or shaken by the actions of others, you learn to respond from a place of inner calm and clarity. Certainty begins with self, with inspiration, then patience. As you continue to embrace emotional independence, you also develop a greater sense of freedom. You no longer feel the need to constantly check your phone or wait for responses, which allows you to be fully present in your own life. Your attention shifts from the uncertainty of waiting for validation to the certainty of your own worth. This freedom enables you to engage in activities and relationships that bring you joy, satisfaction, and growth without being distracted by the need for external reassurance. In the end, emotional independence is about taking back control of your life and your emotions. By choosing to stop texting, you create the space needed to focus on yourself, build your self-worth, and cultivate emotional resilience. Instead of relying on others for validation, you learn to validate yourself and set healthy boundaries that protect your emotional well-being. This journey toward emotional independence is empowering, as it allows you to navigate life with confidence, clarity, and a deep sense of inner strength. As you grow in emotional independence, you become more capable of creating the life you truly desire, one that is based on your own values, goals, and sense of self. And like I've said before, this is a process. The